What's good, people? Welcome to the channel. Welcome back. My name is Shak James. I'm the, I guess, the creative director. This is the director of GVO Entertainment Limited now, because we're now a limited company. Which is a real cool little flex. Yeah. So welcome back to the channel. Make sure you're liking and subscribing everything we've got. I'm kind of deviating for a second from. Sorry, I've got hay fever from podcasting just for a second. We're just resetting the format a bit, which means a couple more changes. I've got an episode kind of ready to go in the next few weeks with Thaxter, an amazing producer, good friend of mine, and actually kind of was the first time we had a conversation together properly, like one-to-one. So that was really good. It was really good to meet him and properly get to see him as a person. He's pretty awesome. Yeah, so today I'm bringing back something that I was planning on doing for a while, Mental Mondays. I think just with it being the new year, I think with me kind of changing, kind of looking into this year now, and sorry, I've got a text, which is annoying. I don't need a text right now. So yeah, I thought it was time to bring back Mental Mondays, just as the New Year's kind of come into play. It's been for a long time. I've been having to do a lot of other things, work, auditions, a bunch of and things like that. So I haven't had much time to kind of just sit down and focus. But I finally today I was able to sit down with my therapist, and we had a really good conversation. And I kind of just feel like, I think for me, I quite value having that extra time where I can sit down with my thoughts and kind of really realign and assess kind of what I'm going through in my head. So once the therapy session was over, I just noted down some things like that. What I'm going to kind of do, I think now, is ask myself a question based on what I've been talking about that day. So I don't want to be too specific with people. I don't want to have to burden people with what I'm going through as well. I don't want this still to be something that people will want to kind of listen to, because everyone goes through stuff. So I think maybe I guess it'd be, if it's therapeutic for me, hopefully it'll be therapeutic for someone else, I guess. Yeah, so I'm going to try and be really consistent with these. Hopefully every Monday, I'll be here talking about something therapy based. Not every single, because people got lives, and I'm trying to be everywhere. But hopefully after every therapy session, I'll sit down and I'll kind of vlog on this platform. But yeah, as I say, the Good Vibes Only podcast is coming back, and we're just going through some things. We're just changing some things up. I've got a new camera and shit, so it's a lot of learning process right now. So today's question, today's topic is leaving things unsaid, and I think this conversation kind of came from a deeper conversation with my therapist. My counselor, therapist. I don't know what the best thing is to say. I don't know what his exact qualification is. I use BetterHelp, by the way. Everyone, if you don't like kind of going out your way, and like sometimes I think the aspect of going into therapy is quite crazy, and having to go and talk to a stranger might be a bit daunting. BetterHelp's great. It gives you like a bunch of different ways you can contact your counselor or your therapist. You can talk either via text, over the phone, or video chat. I usually do video chat just because, to be honest, I don't really know, because I don't like FaceTime or any of that shit, but video chat kind of seems like at least I can put a face to the person I'm talking to. But yeah, so I started using BetterHelp I'm not sure, sometime towards the end of last year, like maybe around October. I want to say around the point when we started looking at sessions after work as a project, um, and I feel like um, I used to leave the sessions a bit dissatisfied. I felt like I wasn't really getting anywhere for a while, and I couldn't really put my finger on why. Um, and like most people, you kind of go to the assumption, oh, therapy must not be working, therapy must be bullshit, and it might not be for you. Um, God, I have to stop swearing as well because YouTube's trying to kill me. But I think after a while, I had to kind of look inwards, and I realized that the reason why it wasn't working for me was because I was withholding myself. I was kind of talking about frivolous things that weren't really issues in my life. I was dancing around subjects. I would jump into different topics here and there. I kind of do whatever I could to get away from the actual issues I wanted to talk about. Be that like digressing on the subject for ages, so that like it was, so you get yourself on the tangents that you don't know what you're talking about. Um, just kind of those kind of things. Like, sorry, I'm going to keep looking over this way because I've got a bunch of notes here as well, just so I can remember what I was thinking. Um, yeah, and it took a lot. It took, even after identifying that and kind of going, okay, at some point I'm gonna have to start talking about like the things that I've kind of come here for. It took again another maybe 2 or 3 sessions for me to actually go, okay, no, I actually have to stop what's going on and actually express what my I had to express to my therapist that I have a tendency to talk about things that don't matter to me, so I can avoid talking about the real issues. Um, I'm not really a person that shares how I feel with other people. I just kind of get on with it. Um, I feel like maybe I will over exaggerate the impact of minor things in my life to ignore bigger things and bigger issues, or I'll just act as if those things don't exist and I don't see them and I'm not going through those things. Um, and I kind of sat with myself for a while, and I've been like in that time we've had now, I kind of spend a lot more time to myself trying to identify where in my life that kind of thing happens and where I kind of leave things unsaid, or I don't approach things in the best way, or I let someone take the mick out of me when I really should be standing up for myself. Um, I think generally in life, I think it happens with a lot of actors. I think it happens with a lot of drama school graduates as well. I think you end up, and I think it's also just embedded in my core to a certain extent. I think I'm a bit of a people pleaser at my core, um, meaning that like I will just kind of, I'm more likely to just resign to just dealing with the issue than than saying I don't really than expressing my dissatisfaction. Um, and I guess acting like everything is okay all the time, even though I'm not always happy. Like I think in a workspace, I make quite an effort to kind of be like cool with everyone and like make sure that everyone's in a good mood. Like where I work now, I'd like to think I'm quite a good person to have in the dressing room, as just like in terms of morale and keeping everyone kind of at least like laughing or in a good mood. Yeah, and I think sometimes that can be at my own detriment because really I might be going through some shit myself that I'm not really like ready to kind of address. So I kind of just push it aside. Um, um, yeah, and after a while you kind of realize that's not sustainable. You can't really live like that all the time, and like it's all right to not be all right. It's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to be going through some shit and having to tell people you might need a bit of distance and setting boundaries because you're going through some shit. Um, yeah, and I guess it went when I do deeper. So I thought about it deeper, and I kind of did some more thinking about it, and I realized it kind of goes deeper. I spent time at Christmas with my family and talking to my mother. I'm not going to go into too much detail about my personal life with there, and it's not really just my story to tell. But I think growing up, my immediate family, and this is again, I feel anxious talking about this because I don't want anyone to feel like I'm blaming anyone for anything, because I think you have to. I'm big on holding myself accountable for my own actions, like first and foremost. But I have to say, I think our family was quite good at masking the negative stuff that was going on at home. My parents are divorced, and I think sometimes when I think about the better memories that we had growing up, and it's been a long time, my memory is foggy because I'm a lot older now. But a lot of the memories I have, like when things were really good between my parents, were in public spaces, um, and I think that kind of just like in a way ingrained itself in all of us subconsciously, just to like you kind of end up keeping up appearances, and it's not healthy, and that's not how you want your family to be. And I think we really like sat down this Christmas and we realized how much, even though like my mom, my sister and I, like I won't speak on my dad just yet, or even at all maybe. Um, I think me, my mum, and my sister have always been really close. Like they're probably the two women in my life that I'm the closest to. Um, I feel like with distance and time and everything changing, and like I went to university, and I think after, well, I say university, I went drama school, which is attached to uni. But I think in that time, you spend like 3 years away, and then I went on tour for like almost 2 years. And I think just in that time, I think there was just the distance was made. Um, and I think as a result, when there's distance and I'm kind of out there just kind of having a life, being like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, I think we're just with all that time that I was just living my life. I noticed that we all knew, but like never ever spoke about this big distance that was there. Um, and I feel like for me, it was a case of, I keep on saying, especially at Christmas, but that was the time we all kind of sat down and had a really good conversation. And I realized that like life is kind of too short. Life is way too short to leave things unsaid. That's how you that's how you lose someone in your life that maybe you had some issue with years ago, but you just never really sat down and talked it out and figured it out. And then that next thing you know, that person is no longer here anymore, and you have now lost that time to try and make things right. Leaving things unsaid, is this just not sustainable to me? I think there's a time and a place to leave things unsaid. I think if you're going into anything to say something to someone that's going to hurt them, and it's intentionally to hurt someone, maybe those things should be left unsaid. I think when it's something that affects you, your mental health, your progression as a person, I think sometimes it's important to speak on everything, and it's important to, especially with those you love, let them know when you feel like maybe you were hurt, or maybe that things could have been dealt with in a different way. I think it's super important. Um, and the only way you can learn how to love someone the way that they need to be loved is by learning and talking to these people. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I was going through, what I was thinking at the time, what I've been thinking recently. Like, there's a lot of things I want to deal with going forward. Um, but yeah, I ended up taking some notes after the session, and I noted down some reasons why I think it's important not to leave things unsaid, and I wanted to share them with you guys. And I feel like maybe going forward, what I will do is kind of take time to journal and kind of figure out how I feel, and then maybe just jot down some points. And you could take them or leave them, because I'm not a role model. I'm not preaching to anyone how they should live their life. I'm not like super spiritual. I'm not like, I ain't got 25 million crystals. I have to stress that I'm really not a person that I would never want someone to, outside of any kids I might have in the future, I would never want someone to say they look up to me in any way, because that's not my intention. My intention is to just spread my message and be true to me, and have something that I can look back on and say, this was me, and this, at least this is it's my therapy, I guess. In a way, this is also a part of my art, and just kind of being true to who I am. But yeah, so here are one, two, three, four reasons why I think it's important not to leave things unsaid. Number one, the only way to deal with adversity is to attack it head on. I think we spend so much time, or at least I spend so much time, looking at the issues, seeing the issues there, and ignoring the issue, and kind of carrying on and walking around this issue. And you dance around and tap dance around the conversation and the problem, and all it does is create more resentment, more irritability, and more problems for you further down the road. I think it's so important to attack adversity head on. I think the sooner people understand that life is a struggle and life is a fight, you have to fight to get to where you want at all times. The more people understand that, and the quicker people understand that, I think will go a long way in how you progress as a human. I think I just think it's a thing where you can't sit and wait for life. You can't sit and wait for the change to happen. You can't sit and wait for the change to go away, the issue to go away, because really, no one's got time for it. You have to kind of take charge yourself, attack situations head on. If you see resistance, just be ready for the fight. You might not win them all. You might lose every single one, bar that one that you need to that's going to elevate you somewhere else. And also, I think just that willingness to attack the situation, even if you don't get the desired outcome you want on the first time round. I think you have to commend yourself for even having the courage to stand up for what you believe in and how you feel. So that's rule number one. Rule number two: you can mend relationships even by having hard conversations. This one for me is something that I had to write down, because I guess for me, I have a weird relationship with my father, and I don't know if he's going to see this or not. I don't. I honestly, I'm at a point with my age where I'm 26 this year. And I'm kind of looking at my life. I'm in a really good relationship, and I'm looking at the future and things that I want from the future. And I know that, for example, I want to be a father at some point. I don't know when. Who knows? Like who knows what the future holds like? But I know I've always wanted to be a dad, and I think part of me feels like I want my dad to be in my kid's life more than he was in mine. And that's not to say he was completely absent at all, but it's just it's very complicated, and maybe a story for a conversation for another time, especially as me and him haven't had a sit down. But over lockdown, like, I lost so many family members, and time is not on anyone's side. And I think I keep referring back to time, um, because you don't know, 1 minute someone's there and then the next minute they're gone, and that's it. Um, for me, I think it's so important to the reason why you have to not the reason why you shouldn't leave things unsaid is because we don't know what the future holds. And if we want to mend these relationships with people, be it your father, be it your mother, be it your sister, be it your best friend, anyone that you want, that you think should be in your life and that you want in your life, no matter the conversation, no matter what anxieties you might have, I think it's important to at least try. You have to open the door. You have to extend the olive branch. And I think as long as it's all about the willingness to try. And I think as long as you show that willingness, you can't really, there's nothing else really you can do. Is you can just, even if they turn around and say, oh, I'm not interested, at least you've done what you wanted, what you needed to do for you. And if it doesn't work out that way, then that's fine. People make decisions in their life. People make their own decisions, But yeah, that's number two. You can mend relationships even by having the hard conversations. Number three, people need people. People need people. I think it's so. I think it's so simple, but also like a lot easier said than done. For me, I'm definitely a bit more of a recluse. I like my own space. I like my own. I like living under my own schedule. I like kind of not having to answer to anyone. I like being my own boss. But all those things gonna come with at times, a very lonely life. Me being the kind of person who doesn't like to burden people with my issues, I think that combined with the fact that I spend a lot of my free time by myself can be quite an isolating experience. That's not to say I need my mates to start hollering me and asking me what to do. No, sometimes I'm just not gonna. I won't even reply to you. But I think it's just knowing that there are people out there who love you. There are people out there that care for you and your mental well-being. There are people that see you in a better light than you might see yourself. I know those things are definitely true for me. And just remembering that, like, at our core, we're animals, we're social animals, and we need people. Like, I think if you're finding all your company via social media, that's probably part of the problem. I think it's important to just have real life friends who are really honest with you at all times and will call you out on things. I think that's super important. I think people need people, and when you're not okay, your friends are going to be the ones that are going to hold you down. I guarantee it. Like, I'm that kind of friend, or I try to be that kind of friend as much as I can. I think it's important to surround yourself with friends who are going to be really honest with you at all times. I think it's important to surround yourself with friends who aren't going to hold you back, and they're on the same wavelength as you. I think with friends, it's a case of, if you feel like you have to leave certain people behind in order for you to progress, you also have to do that as well. I think people need people. People need the right people as well. So that's rule 3. And my final rule, if you don't ask for help, you're never going to get it. It's important to not leave things unsaid, because if you don't ask for help, you're going to sit there wondering how the hell you're going to get out of this situation. And whatever situation that is, maybe it's a bad relationship, maybe you're going through you got a mental health issue, maybe you're low on money and you need the help. Like you have to speak on these things. You have to ask for help. I don't think there's any shame in asking for help. I think sometimes I think if you're, I say we, I'm talking about the working class people. I'm talking about the black community. I'm talking about the Asian community. I'm talking about people who come from poverty. Generally, I'm talking about anyone that's ever struggled in life. I think sometimes asking for help can feel like you're you got your hand out and you're like asking for charity, and asking for help and receiving help is never a bad thing. Um, People don't really tend to get many places without help. People don't tend um, to achieve the levels that they need to or they want to achieve without a bit of help somewhere. Um, and I guess that point kind of has been covered throughout everything I'm saying. It's just like, if you don't make the effort and make that first step, even if you don't think that really it's your job to make that first step. If you want change, you have to be the change sometimes. Um, but yeah, those are my 4 rules. This is why it's important not to leave things unsaid. This has been it's actually been really quite refreshing just to kind of speak on these things out loud again, even though like some of these things I kind of had the conversation earlier, but I think this is really helping. And I hope that this kind of thing will help people as well. So going forward, I put 3 things I want to think about going forward. Um, I want to be able to deal with any issues I have head on. That's something I want to deal with. I'm not just preaching these rules as something that, and these points as something that as someone who's a massive practitioner of them, so I guess in many ways I'm a hypocrite, or people could perceive me as a hypocrite. But I'd say it more. I would say it's more along the lines of I'm a human living a human experience. So even though I try to live a certain way, I slip up, and I will revert back to my what I'm used to. Like this is a change that's like a couple months in the making right now. Like I'm in the middle of trying to progress and become a better person. But wanting to be able to deal with the issues head on is something that I've been trying to put into practice a lot of the time, especially in my workspace right now, is the main thing. Any kind of like work I deal with, and trying to deal with it in a way that I don't feel like I'm being slighted in any way. But yeah, and I think it's something that I want to apply going forward into like, oh, just box of shit on my mic. Apply forward going into my personal life and my adult life and my relationships with my family members. Yeah. Um, Ruled my point for going forward. My second point. I don't want to live with regret. Again, I think just the last 2 years that we've had as a family. What year is it? 2023. Anything from 2019 up to now. I think, and me and my family members, I think we've been through so much in the past 3-4 years, that I think you have to take the lesson that comes with it, and like even losing people you can find the blessing in that you understand now that time is so fleeting, and you have to have these relationships. These relationships are so important. Family is so important. We're not meant to live in this oversaturated super social world where we have access to everything at all times. We're not supposed to be living like that. Our brains aren't evolved to be able to take in that much information right now. Still we're still the species that is meant to be in small communities, raising families and living within these small communities. But we've expanded so much, and we have social media, have access to everything now. You've got 13-year-olds who can watch a kid in bloody South Carolina get shot by the police. Like, there's so much access and so much trauma that people are dealing with. Um, yeah, I just think for me, it's important to, within my community, my family, that we all stay together and there's still a tightly knit community despite the distance that we all have and everyone's doing different things. And I don't want to have to look back in 40, 50 years time at my life and think, wow, I was so busy trying to make something of myself, or so busy over there doing something that I lost time with my family and I didn't get to really spend time with them as the way I wanted to, or I lose someone that's important to me and I don't get to have the relationship with them that I always wanted to have. So, so yeah, I don't think I don't want to live with regrets. So, and again, it ties into the first point. You know, I want to attack these issues head on, so I don't have to live with regrets. Um, and yeah, and I guess it was 3 points, but the third point is I want to amend relationships before it's too late. These are all literally kind of the same. They all kind of tie into the same idea that I I can see that time is. I think just the way I've kind of the last couple years that I've lived through, I can just see that things just kind of at any point can just do a massive left turn, and then like I guess I'm getting to that kind of age now as well as an adult where things just certain things just change massively in your life one day and that's it, and now you have to just deal with that. Um, but yeah, I think me mending relationships with people that I had, like be that my sister, my mum, my dad, my friends, certain friends that I might not be in contact with anymore. I just want to be in a place where the people that I feel like I'm closer to, and the people I care about the most, one, know how much I care about them and are affirmed that they're cared about, um, and that we're all in a position where we can be a safe space for each other. We can talk openly about things. And one thing, again, like I was saying earlier, you don't, unless you ask questions of people, unless you sit and listen to people's stories and you truly try to understand them, you're never going to know how to love them the way that they need to be loved. Um, and that's the thing. I want to just take care of my people, you know? But yeah, that was Mental Mondays. This was really nice. I think it kind of helps that I'm actually kind of talking at a laptop right now. Um, but I guess this will be out soon and people will make their own opinions. I'm going to post this on Instagram and YouTube. I think Mental Mondays can be on both platforms. I think it's good for people, and I think it needs the reach. It deserves the reach. Yeah, so thank you very much. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, gvo.entertainment_UK. Please donate to our Cash App. That'd be really helpful. We're trying to we're just going to keep upgrading our format as much as possible. And I want to start bringing people in. I want to be able to pay them as well. That'd be nice if I could. Yeah, make sure you're getting any merchandise as well. Don't forget, we've got phone cases here. We've got T-shirts. We've got bags and other really cool stuff as well. Thank you again for locking in with us. And remember, no matter what they say, it's GVO all day. Thank you for your time, guys. I'll see you after my next session, I guess.